Okay, magandang araw sa ating lahat. Welcome sa isa na namang episode ng She-Share Ko Lang, isang programa na nagbibigay ng impormasyon at talakayan din tungkol sa mga issue na hindi masyado na pag-uusapan lalo ng ating mga kabataang kababaihan sa mga komunidad. Okay, ito ay isang proyekto ng DSWP, Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines. At sinusuportahan din ito ng Organon Philippines, isa namang organisasyon na laging humahanap ng mga solusyon para sa kalusugan ng ating mga kababaihan. May bago tayong co-host ngayon sa araw na ito. Siguro yung iba sa inyo kilala siya. So, hayaan natin magpakilala si...
Hi, I'm Sweet from DSWP, Education and Training Officer dito sa DSWP.
Okay, so may makakasama tayo. Unfortunately, hindi natin kasama ang ating national chair na si Batang Shoko, no? So meron siyang importante. Siyempre, gusto niya makasama tayo ngayon, pero yun lang, medyo busy siya. So, babalik tayo, meron lang tayong maikling break, tapos pakikilala natin yung ating guest na I'm sure nakikita nyo na dyan. Okay, magbabalik tayo. Okay, eto na tayo ulit, nagbabalik tayo. Meron tayong kasamang bisita. Alam ko excited kayo tuwing ang bisita natin, bata. Kasi talagang makaka-relate tayo sa kanyang mga kwento. So gusto ko lang sabihin, no, kasi kahit bata siya, siya ay isang manager, leasing manager. Yan yung leasing manager, yung pag halimbawa gusto nyo umupa sa building pag may mga business na kayo, siya yung kakausapin nyo para makakuha kayo ng pwesto dun sa building na yan o yung mga stores, mga ganyan, di ba? Yun yung trabaho niya. Tapos ano lang siya, 24 lang siya. Pero bukod doon, kasi nga, syempre, alam mo naman natin, hindi pwedeng isa lang ginagawa pag bata ka, laging busy, maraming mga interes, at isa rin siyang artist kasi siya ay isang photographer. So, kumukuha siya ng mga pictures. Hindi ko alam, mamaya tanungin natin kung anong pictures yung kinukuha niya. Ano ba yan? Portrait ba yan? Pang art ba yan? Pang exhibit? O sa mga commercial ba yan? So, eto na, kasama natin si Rinei. Hi, Rinei! Kumusta?
Hi po. Hi everybody. I'm Rinei. I'm 24 years old. Ako, photographer ako, tas leasing manager din po ako. Another thing is, ito na po ang 6th year ko as a recovering addict and someone who's going through substance use disorder. So I'm really happy to be here. I hope you guys can relate sa mga experiences ko and sa mga insights ko.
Ayun. Maraming salamat. Siya interesting na sinabi na siya ay recovering addict. Okay. Siguro lagi nating nadidinig lagi yung salitang addict pag pinag-uusapan yung mga tokhang. Pero hindi lang yun, no? Napakalawak ng usapin na to. At alam natin, marami nakapagkwento sa inyo sa mga pag-uusap natin dati na marami mga bata na nakikita nyo na gumagamit sila ng droga o ng alcohol, pero hindi lang yon ang ibig sabihin siguro ng pagiging addict. Kaya kasama natin si Rinei dito para tulungan tayo at para isang kabataan din na dumaan sa ganyang experience ang kakausapin natin. So sige, Rinei, ano nga ba talagang ibig sabihin ng addiction?
Okay, so addiction in essence is it's a sickness talaga. So sakit talaga siya. It's when somebody has the need to use certain things, be it drugs, no droga, or they want certain things like some addictions can be for shopping or for drinking, or like I said, drugs. Then you only call something an addiction when somebody hindi na talaga makontrol yung usage ng isang bagay. So it's actually a sickness in the brain. So we actually call that substance use disorder, shortcut SUD. So SUD, it's when a part of your brain is already affected in a way where yung behavior mo, di mo na talaga makontrol yung usage mo sa mga bagay-bagay. For me personally, in my past, it was drugs. So addiction is when you want or want to do something so much and di mo na makontrol, na di mo na limit yourself from using that thing, and can make young people do things that are not what usual kids do. So for me, addiction was using drugs and also behavior then. It was also addicted sa mga other drugs then, and
Mhm.
making it affect yung life ko. So some people, they can like something so much and it can't affect their life. Pero sa akin, it affected my life so much na no matter what I did, yung priority talaga ko is drugs talaga. So that's kind of what addiction is really, being so obsessed with something na that you just want to do it a lot.
Sige, balik tayo. So, Rinei, ang sinasabi mo pala, yung addiction, yung pag hindi mo na mapigil, hindi mo na makontrol yung sarili mo, na meron ka gustong-gusto. Tapos ang sabi mo, meron palang addiction na, sa kaso mo, ang sabi mo, drugs nga yun, no? Pero yung iba, sabi mo, pati yung shopping, pwede palang maging addiction yun. So, yung wala ka nang magawa, sabi mo, hindi mo na mapigil na, wala ka nang magawang iba, kundi yun na lang lagi yung iniisip mo. Ano-ano pa ba yung ibang klase ng addiction ng mga, may mga nakilala ka ba na mga iba rin na naging addict din? Ano naman yung mga klase ng addiction nila?
So just some background lang. Nag-undergo ako ng rehabilitation treatment in a therapeutic community. So because naging addict ako, yung family ko, nag-seek help sila sa mga formal treatment facilities so that I could overcome my addiction. And in that process, I was able to meet yung mga ibang tao na may ibang-ibang addiction. So like I said, shopping, yun talaga yung first time ko na narinig na may shopping addiction pala. Other types of addictions that I saw were alcohol. Alcohol was also prime, parang a very what's the word? A very prominent na addiction that a lot of people struggle with here in the Philippines. Of course, drugs. There's many types of drugs that people were addicted to, including pharmacy drugs or even street drugs or even cigarettes. A lot of people struggled with addiction to cigarettes. Another type of addiction that I experienced, or not experienced, but I've met people who have these addictions, are things like sex addictions, gaming addictions, and gambling as well. Gambling was also one of yung addictions na ang dami pala na affect sa mga like gambling addictions here in the Philippines kasi there's so much activity here in terms of that, yung mga sabong or yung mga like casino, ganon. Yeah, so those are the different types of addictions that you can encounter here sa Philippines at least.
Kung tama yung intindi ko, so sinamahan ka ng mga magulang mo para pumunta sa rehab para ma-solusyonan nga yung sakit. Dahil sabi mo nga, yung addiction, sakit siya, no? Tinuturing siya na sakit. Tapos, iba't ibang klase pala, no? Na pati, o yung nadidinig natin, syempre, yung minsan ginagamit lang na yung salitang addict loosely, no? Yung paggamit na parang, addict ka naman sa ganyan, di ba? Pero sa kasong ito, totoo yung addiction. So,
Mm.
nangyayari ba kapag adik ka sa shopping, ano na, nagnanakaw ka na, parang ganun ba? O yung tumatakas ka na para makapanigarilyo, ganun. Adik na pala yun. O meron bang pagkakaiba? Pag halimbawa, gustong-gusto mo ng chocolate, gano'n, na tumatakas ka sa gabi para pumunta ng 7-Eleven para kumain ng tsokolate, kahit sabi sa'yo, huwag ka nang kakain ng tsokolate. Addiction ba yun o kailangan ba na may pumunta ka talaga sa doktor na para masabi na addiction yun?
If you use something, di naman automatic na addict ka. So for me, example,
Mm.
I've tried other drugs before that I didn't like. Di ko talaga gusto, as in, di ako na-addict sa certain drug na yun. Pero, na-try ko. But I tried it once, tapos never again, ganun.
Mm.
So, it is possible to try something and not get addicted. Is it the same as liking something? To some extent, oo. Pero yung addiction talaga, as in, di mo talaga makontrol yung urge mo na gumamit ng isang bagay. When you like something so much, example, chocolate, tapos you want to go and get chocolate sa 7-Eleven, that's okay. Addiction talaga, yung fine line between liking something and addiction is addiction, you will do anything possible to do that thing, even if you're gonna hurt your family, or you're gonna lie to your family, or you're gonna like destroy yung trust ng friends mo, or you're gonna escape yung mga responsibilities mo para lang gumamit. That's where addiction comes in. Yung mga, if you wanna get something you really like, you can say like, later na lang after yung responsibility ko. Pero yung addiction talaga, di mo talaga ma-stop, you know. It's hard to tell yourself no. Kasi addiction na. It's already a part of your brain where you want to get that thing again and again and again. So, yun yung difference from liking something instead of liking something and being addicted to something.
Ano pala yun, yung kapag pati pagtiwala ng magulang mo, sisirain mo na, pati sa mga kaibigan mo, wala ka ng pakialam, basta makakuha ka lang nun, yun yung parang addiction. Tapos hindi siguro, naisip ko lang kasi sabi mo sakit, dapat talagang pinupuntahan pala dyan, doktor, hindi pulis. Ba?
Mm.
Para siguro magkaroon ng solusyon. Ang bata mo pa, Rinei, 24 ka lang. Tapos ang sabi mo, 6 years ka na mula nung kumbaga, malinis na, no? Na nag-stop ka na sa ganon.
Yes po.
So, ibig sabihin na ang bata mo nagsimula. Pwede bang ikwento mo ng kaunti para dun sa ibang mga nakikinig sa atin, nanonood? Paano ka nagsimula?
So, yung origin story ko, it actually started nung 12 years old ako. Me and a couple of friends, we decided we wanted to try marijuana, and one of my friends were able to get some marijuana, and we tried it out. Di naman ako na-addict sa marijuana, pero I think yun yung day na talaga nag-change yung life ko, kasi naging curious ako sa ibang drugs, ibang cigarettes, ganun, alcohol. Yun talaga yung start. So, 12 years old ako noon. And ever since then, since naging curious ako, nag-gravitate ako sa mga circle of friends na di naman bad, pero yung influence nila isn't yung type na gusto ng mga magulang namin.
Okay.
So,
Ah.
nag-start ako 12, and then mga 13, yun yung na-expose na ako sa mga parties, mga friends na older. So, definitely that played a part. I surrounded myself with mga older people. I dressed more older than my age. So parang nag-open yung mga doors sa mga older kids activities at such a young age. So ever since then, from 12 years old until maybe 15 years old, secretly behind my family's back, I was already starting to use a lot of drugs, drinking, smoking cigarettes. Sa time na yun, kala ko, like, balewala lang, parang di naman alam ng magulang ko, tapos, um, parang di naman na-affect yung mga studies ko. Pero sa exposure sa mga tao na ganyan, further naging curious yung mind ko. I wanted to try more and more. And by the time I was 15, I was already trying really hard drugs. And I was being taken advantage of with my yung naivety ko. I didn't know what I was doing. I was with older men who could take advantage of me, who had taken advantage of me, and that lowered yung self-esteem ko. And because my self-esteem was lower, I wanted to use more drugs because I wanted to parang numb the pain. And so when I was 15, yun yung like talaga one of the worst times in my childhood because na-alter na yung reality ko. Like, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't see life as it was. And I decided to run away from my home. And I felt like I wasn't understood. But that was because I didn't talk to people about how I felt. I always just used the drugs and I thought na I had it under control, but yun talaga yung thing about addiction is more often than not people think they're under control, but they're not. The drug is already in control of them. But it's very hard to see that when you're in it. It's very hard. So yeah, from 15, I ran away from home and I had been outside of my house for years until I started meeting more people who were much older than me, mga 30s, 40s. And of course, they had more money than a 16, 17-year-old, so they could buy more drugs and more other things, you know. So they kind of use that as me being a young girl, they use that as like leverage over me because all I wanted was the drugs to numb the pain. And so, yeah, because I was in that scene, which a lot of girls are. I've met so many young girls in that time who were also in the same position as me, and we were all kind of same. Like there's older men there na they're taking advantage of these young girls who are addicted to drugs. And so yeah, eventually I was reconnected with my family, and when they saw na yung state ko talaga is so broken, I was so skinny, so pale, so like out of it already, yung eyes ko daw, like wala nang life. That's when they got alarmed and they wanted to get professional help for me. But they knew that if if they told me about it at the time, kasi I was very parang so hooked on the drugs na they believed that if they told me that I was gonna go seek or they were gonna go bring me somewhere where there would be no drugs, they felt na I might run away or I might go away. So they just didn't tell me, and they brought me in when I just turned 18 when they brought me in to get treatment. So bata pa ako. I had my 19th birthday in a rehab facility, and yeah, up to this day, I am so thankful na my family did that for me kasi as in, nag-change talaga buhay ko, as in, now it's so different from then kasi I was in so much pain. Of course, yung pain ko stemmed from certain things with my family, pero yeah, it's workable as long as you talk about it with them, especially with a professional. So yeah, that's kind of a very, very rough summary of the timeline from when I started up to when I got treatment.
Ang bata mo pala nagsimula at ang sabi mo nga, ah, marami ka nakilala ng ganun din kabata nagsimula. So, napakahirap siguro no, nung sinabi mo nga na nung lumayas ka. Kasi nga, parang yun na lang yung gusto mo. Ito, yun yung sinasabi mo nga na addiction, hindi lang yung bastang gusto. Parang, ay gusto ko, punta akong ganyan, kukuha ka. Ito talagang pinatatakbo na siya, yung buhay mo, pinatatakbo na talaga ng drugs, no? At yun nga, sumasama ka na sa mas maraming mga tao, mas matanda sa'yo, kahit sino na lang na makakapagbigay ng drugs. May nabanggit ka, kung okay lang, ano, ah, may nabanggit ka kanina, sabi mo, nag-start ka lang sa marijuana, tapos hanggang pumunta ka dun sa hard drugs. Ano yung hard drugs na binabanggit mo?
So yung hard drugs na talaga yung problem ko is amphetamines, or sa street known as shabu. Yun talaga yung problem ko na na-treat ko sa rehab.
Ano yung effect sa'yo ng shabu? Kasi usually nababasa lang natin sa dyaryo, sabihin shabu, ganun, masama. Pero sa'yo personal, ano yung naging effect sa'yo ng paggamit ng shabu?
So for me, kasi growing up, shy girl talaga ako, as in, hindi ako nagtatalk, shy girl talaga, walang sound. And when I tried shabu for the first time, it was actually with one of my high school classmates. And sabi niya na, let's do this so that we can finish our project fast, ganun. I didn't know what that meant kasi at that point, I still hadn't touched it, you know? But yun, when he offered it to me, at first I said, "Mm, it's okay, like I'm okay." Parang nakita ko yung paraphernalia, parang may foil, may ganon. And at first, like, I was a bit parang hesitant kasi I've never done that before. But then after a couple of him asking, I said, okay, why not? I'll try it. So I tried it, and yung coffee feeling, parang ganun na gumigising ka, or yeah. And parang it just feels like a shot of adrenaline, parang ganun. Like you wake up and you feel like you can do anything in the world. So that's, I think, one of the main feelings that I liked about it that got me addicted, was because I felt like I could do anything, and that included talking. I didn't talk a lot, so I made more friends because I was able to talk, express myself more without being shy or feeling like I can't be myself. I felt like I could be myself, but I was wrong. That wasn't myself. That was me influenced by a very, very hard, strong drug. And yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but um this feeling of parang euphoria, or parang yeah, this feeling of euphoria, it was good at the time, but those feelings, there's a consequence to them. You can go up, but then with that up, you always have to come down. So every time I got high personally, my crash siya. So yung crash is when after gumagamit ang isang tao, parang may roller coaster, nasa roller coaster sila. So ganun. Tapos when they plummet, nade-depress sila or nagiging angry or sad. And that's the price you pay talaga for taking anything. There's always the opposite effect. So when you're down, what do you want to do? You want to go up again. So it's just the cycle of going up and down, up and down. So because I knew, okay, if I go up, I'll feel better about myself, I just kept doing it and doing it until I realized like, oh, I'm already so far in it. I'm already using na pala for 2 weeks. On top of that, because you feel like you're waking up, you can't sleep. So you get a lot of sleep deprivation. You can't eat. So you're starving, but you don't know it. So yeah, once you use that type of drug, na-affect talaga yung buong body mo. Like physically, mentally, yeah, it's not a great effect talaga. I feel sad for my child self for going through so many years of that cycle.
So high school ka lang nun, ano? Parang
Yes.
high school, 12, 13, no? Si Sweet, ano yan? Meron niyang mga anak na bata. Ang eldest niya just turned 18. Sweet, bilang isang nanay, baka meron kang questions na, gustong itanong kay Rinei.
Actually, ang ganda nung mga explanation niya, no? Parang lahat ng question na nasiisip ko, nasagot niya na sa mga sinabi niya. So, curious lang ako kung nananakit din ba kapag kayong mga nagda-drugs or naka-drugs na ay nananakit ba sila physically? Siyempre 'pag sobrang hype ka 'di ba 'no, 'pag baka hindi na nakokontrol yung kanilang ginagawa, nakakasakit ba sila physically or nagti-trip ba sila na manakit or gano'n?
So sa experience ko, it really depends case to case basis depending on the person talaga. Kasi for me, I used because I came from a household where I experienced violence, and so I wanted to get away from that. And that through the drugs, I numbed the pain of the household that I was in. And because I was trying to get away from violence, I didn't want to resort to violence in any way. I really just wanted to use yung drugs, kanon. But I did surround myself with multiple types of people, and madalas yung gumagamit, they were pretty violent when they got angry, especially if nagka-crave sila ng drugs pero wala silang parang stock, ganon. Yeah, they get angry and then they resort to violence, or nung nagka-crash sila, naiinis sila, so nagiging violent rin sila sa mga maliit lang na bagay. So I think just because you use the drugs doesn't exactly mean that you will become violent, but I feel like from my experience, if yung person they have violent tendencies to begin with, the drugs can parang amplify that a lot. It can encourage that type of behavior. Yeah.
So, kumbaga, kung violent ka na talaga in the first place, mas gagrabe. Pwedeng gawin niyang mas grabe. Sabi mo kasi, di ba, nung lumayas ka, syempre bilang isang bata, na, syempre, yun nga, sabi mo, hindi mo naintindihan yung ibang mga bagay. Maraming bagay na hindi pa naintindihan, na akala mo okay lang, ganun. At marami ka rin nakilala, ibang mga bata rin nagsimula. Mas marami bang lalaki at kaysa sa babae, sa naaalala mo? particular na kaibahan ng experience kapag babae? Is it harder for a young girl than a young boy?
For me, I've met young girls, I've met young boys, I've gotten to know them throughout the years, and I think I felt as though the young girls got taken advantage of more because usually, well, actually, certain drugs can stimulate people's sex drives. So, a lot of people can easily take advantage of lost young girls. And it's sad because these girls don't know what they're doing or where to go. More often than not, it's very much older men that take advantage of these young girls. And because these girls are in a parang vulnerable state in their life or vulnerable mindset, and vulnerable can mean low self-esteem, low self-confidence. It's easy for them to say yes to anything as long as they get even 1% of comfort, and that comfort can come in the form of drugs. So these men or these even older women can take advantage of these young girls because of that. And I've met young boys as well throughout the years who also got taken advantage of, but in a different way. So the way that I experienced them getting taken advantage of is when one of the older people who are users as well, gusto nila mag-score, they'll tell the younger guys to go do the transaction for them. So they'll say, you can get some of my drugs as long as you're the one that goes to go get it. And that's risky for the young boys because they could get caught, or, you know, they're letting the young boys do the dirty work per se, to do the dirty work for them so that in case it's like police or informant, ganon, they won't be the one that will get in trouble. So yeah, they take advantage psychologically of these boys, and they get these young boys to steal things for them, or just do a lot of nasty stuff. Sadly, like here in the Philippines, people are more vulnerable because we need more things. We're not as sufficient in a lot of things. So yeah, it's sad to see that a lot of young people have to go through things like that at such a young age and be victim to both addiction and also abuse in some other form.
May nabanggit ka tungkol sa, sabi mo na, sakit nga siya. Tapos meron pa nga siyang tawag. SUD, tama ba? Pwede bang i-explain mo pa sa amin ng kaunti yung kung anong ibig sabihin nun?
So, I wouldn't say yung addiction is the same as parang depression or anxiety. I'm no doctor, so don't quote me on this, but from what I learned from our facility, because thankfully the facility I went to, they held seminars almost every day just to teach us, the recovering addicts, what's going on in our mind so that we can better understand how we feel, and we don't feel like we don't feel like it's us against something that's uncontrollable. Parang it to know these types of things, you're able to understand and then tackle it with hopefully professionals. So addiction, it's or substance use disorder. So disorder, why is it called disorder? It's because it's a brain altering behavior, ganon. For addiction kasi, you can be someone that carries what you call addictive gene. So addictive gene is something that's already inside of you. So this is with people who are like easily nagiging addict sa mga small bagay, or like for me, I get very addicted to certain things. Parang if I like something, I want it again and again and again. Like it's hard for me to stop myself from wanting this thing. So some people are born with an addictive gene. It's actually hereditary. So if my mom is addicted to, let's say, cigarettes, most likely I will become addicted to something. It doesn't have to be cigarettes, but it's addictive. It means I'm addicted to something. I'll probably come across something I'm addicted to. And for people who don't necessarily have an addictive gene, they can come across, let's say, like a really strong drug or a drug that they enjoy. And when they take it, parang your brain has a reward system. So there's a system in your brain where this is the line of like pleasure. So before the drugs, parang eating ice cream would be this line of pleasure. When you eat the ice cream, your brain chemicals go up, 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 and it reaches here. But when you use a certain drug, and drugs normally they do this, the drug will make your line go all the way up here. So what once would have been really happy to eat ice cream, you are suddenly not so happy. Suddenly the new line of happiness is doing drugs. So addiction, it's usually formed by a change in your reward system in your brain. So it's more of a chemical thing. But we were taught in our facility that addiction is a lifetime illness. So it's really a sickness because once you have it, it's never going to go away, sadly. You're always going to be struggling with it some way, somehow.
May ano lang ako, may question lang ako dun. Yung sinabi mo na nabanggit mo kanina yung rehabilitation is malaking tulong dun sa ano mo, pagre-rehab mo. Yun nga po yung nabanggit mo kanina is lifetime sickness siya. So may mga may mga napapanood ako na mga addict nga na nare-rehab pero after nung makalabas, umuulit. So paano nangyayari yun? Yung ganong scenario.
So usually, because like I said, lifetime sickness siya. So you really, when you go through treatment, your recovery is only as good as your effort that you put into it. If, I'm 6 years deep into my recovery, pero sometimes nagka-crave pa rin ako. Just because I'm 6 years in doesn't mean na wala na yung addiction ko. Nandun pa rin, pero it's just controlled now because I'm able to parang look at it and see it as an addiction. It's not my life. It's not something I want. It's just something in my brain that's happening. So there are a lot of people, unfortunately, who go through treatment and when they get out, they relapse. It's really hard to say why they do that because that's really case to case basis. But bottom line is they do that because they don't want to recover yet. So it's not as easy as it looks. It's a mental challenge to tell yourself that recovery is worth it because when you're in it, all you know is that drugs bring you comfort or whatever brings you comfort and you just feel better doing it and you can't see what's on the other side until you're there. So it's just really about a leap of faith. And sometimes people who get out of rehab, they have little parang faith in what the other side will look like. So that's why in recovery, it's very important to have support with your peers or other recovering addicts or family, friends, because if you don't have that support, you'll find support somewhere else, and that's usually in substance or in activities that you enjoy that end up sabotaging the quality of life that you have. So yeah, that's usually why when people don't have a really strong why as to why they're recovering na, they will usually resort back to it because like they don't know anything better than that. So yeah.
Sabi nga legal ang marijuana sa Thailand 'no? Pero nabanggit mo rin kanina na nag-start ka ng marijuana muna, bago pa yung mas hard na natikman mo. Pero tingin mo, ano bang masasabi mo dito sa ang marijuana ay legal sa Thailand, sa ibang bansa?
So that's a very taboo topic that I enjoy talking about because I have a lot of friends who are from the Western culture, so it's very legal there. For legal countries like Thailand, US, I would say that there are properties of marijuana that, yeah, can be medically beneficial, but I do feel that some people may or may not be abusing that. And it's funny because yung mga nakilala ko sa rehab, yung mga addicted to marijuana, sila yung most unaccountable of their addiction because it's legal in certain places. So it can be easy to forget that because it's a drug that's legal in some countries, it can also be abused or misused just because it's legal. So of course it's a case-to-case basis, pero I do feel that marijuana can also be an unhealthy addiction in certain like ways of usage. Kasi some people smoke marijuana and they're not doing anything else in their life because they're just like high on the couch and doing nothing or hanging out with friends. Of course, doing nothing and hanging out with friends to a healthy extent is fine, but yeah, some people can use the card of it being medicine and use that as a way to escape their responsibilities or their day-to-day life just because parang yung drug na yun is legal in some countries. It's a tricky drug to talk about with certain groups of people, but yeah, I would say that if you're not using it medically, maybe just try to live your life sober, and yeah, you really don't need it. You just want it. So yeah, unless you're medically prescribed to it, yeah.
Pero meron ba silang parang, kumbaga, markers or signs na pwede nating sabihin na, pag ito, 1, 2, nangyari na to, baka dapat magpatingin ka na at wag mo nang i-deny na mukhang hindi mo na yan, na addiction na yan. Is there something that they can watch out for?
Yeah, so yung mga telltale signs na addict ka is, well, first would be you begin to jeopardize yung mga close relationships mo. So close relationships meaning family, friends, maybe roommates, or
Paano yun? Paano yun? Ano yung mga halimbawa? Kasi 'di ba minsan man pag teenager sumasagot din naman talaga sa magulang minsan, pero ano yung ibig sabihin nung parang na jeopardize mo na yung pamilya mo o yung friends mo? Ano yung mga examples nun?
Well, yung mga examples na I can think of would be from personal experience. One would be I would lie to them that I would go see friends, pero yun pala, nagsuscore na pala ako sa mga Escanita or wherever. And I would tell them na, school project lang ma, like, just to get out of the house. But yun, I started to lie again, kasi it worked last time, so lie. And, eventually, because I felt comfortable lying sa parents ko, parang internally, I was already disrespecting them. Parang I already felt like, oh, I can lie to you anytime I want. Ganun. So if they one day said, no, you can't go, I felt parang angry that I couldn't go, or I felt sad that I couldn't go, and it affected my interpersonal relationship with them kasi like you said no, so I can't go get my drugs, parang ganun, in my mind. And yeah, eventually parang that anger started to build inside me, and whenever we would parang have any disagreements, I would just burst because I'm already feeling so many things that I'm not talking about. Yeah, that's one of the examples that I would say is most common, lying. I think also another one would be jeopardizing my relationship with like friends. I would parang I would go hang out with friends, but like my real friends, yung real friends ko, I would hang out with them, and yung mga drugging friends ko, I told my parents that I'll go meet with my friends. So I meet with my friends. But when I'm with my friends, I'm using that as parang alibi so I can go get from my drugging friends. So my friends would notice that na you always say you're gonna hang out with me, but like you always go somewhere else. Like, why aren't you ever here anymore? Like that. And then I'll feel like they don't understand me, or they're not supporting me, ganun. And yeah, it puts friction between any relationship to feel like they have to parang see me go through something like that, and then I just have to be like deal with it, it's not a good feeling to be a friend of someone who's going through addiction.
'Di ba? Kadalasan may mga matatandang mas matatandang mga lalaki sa inyo na parang ano 'yon dahil naghahanap talaga sila ng mga batang babae na bibigyan ng drugs kasi may pera sila ah, para sumama sa kanila, or sila mismo nagda-drugs bang palagi, o meron bang mga iba na talagang magbibigay lang ng drugs para sumama ka lang sa kanila?
Oh, I would say all of the above. There's so many different cases of young girls getting or ending up with older men, and yeah, I've listened to so many stories of other young girls who aren't in living situations that are ideal. So either they've already been doing drugs, and these men it's hard to say how they got like connected, but because when you use drugs, you kind of get to know the whole community at some point, because everybody is just doing drugs with each other. So it's hard to say how that happens, but definitely the older men with young girls, they exchange drugs for sex, and these young girls get taken advantage of because that's the only way that they can attain the drugs without having to buy it. And it's sad because these older men, they know that they take advantage of that. So yeah, it's a very prevalent problem within the drug scene is that it's usually younger girls who get taken advantage of.
Kung ituturing mo, what would you consider yung pinaka-top na mga drugs na talagang kailangan mong iwasan yun o delikado na yon talaga? Aside from sabi mo shabu, meron pa bang iba na you would caution na wag yan kasi talagang tuloy-tuloy yan?
Yeah. I would say shabu and heroin. Most likely heroin would be one of the ones on top. And I would say benzos as well. I don't know the full term of it, but like things like antipsychotics. I've met a lot of young girls who were addicted to that, and it really altered not just their brain chemistry, but the way they act. Like they're very
Ano yung effect nun? I'm sorry, ano yung effect nun? Ano siya, ang tawag sa kanya, benzoids?
benzos. That's short for something, but it's goes under the it goes under like drugs like Valium, Xanax, like pharmaceutical drugs. Yeah, a lot of older men who I guess I don't know how they attain these, but maybe they're prescribed it. They give it to younger girls, almost like drugging them to a dysfunctional state almost, where you're just I've only experienced it seldom times, but it's basically you feel cloudy, you feel like not yourself. I feel like to an extent na kapag malaki yung dosage, parang it could be like a rape drug. Yeah. So if there are any older men offering younger girls that, I already kind of knew what their intentions were with these young girls.
Ayan. Siyempre, isang malaking bagay na meron kaming Rinei na nakausap ngayon dahil actually ako personally marami akong natutunan. Pero gusto lang sana namin matanong kung ano po yung mga mabibigay mong advice sa mga kabataan na maaaring may mga pinaglalabang addiction ngayon. Yung kung ano yung pwede mong ma-advise sa kanila at kung paano mo ito naso-survive ngayon.
Mhm. Think yung advice ko for any young girl who is struggling with addiction is I was also in a curious and young place once. I was in a lot of pain, Rin, and if you ever feel like the only solution to your pain is to do drugs or to do any kind of addictive behavior na masisira buhay mo, just take a deep breath and try to remember that di talaga worth it. If yung reason mo is because you have trauma or you're hurting or even you're just bored, just try to remember that using or doing the things that you're addicted to, it's not going to fix anything. What's gonna fix something is to always ask for help. Your addiction, it will make you feel better, yes, but we cannot fix anything if we're alone. So it's always the right thing to ask for help. There's so many, I wish I knew this. There was so many hotlines and free services, communities that reach out to young girls who are suffering through trauma or anything, addiction, abuse. It's usually the drugs or the addiction or the mask to help the pain go away. So if you can just ask someone you trust or seek help from a professional that won't shame you or make you feel bad, just remember you're not alone, and drugs and addiction and all that stuff, it's not the only way.
Mga napakarami talaga, napakayaman talaga nung sharing mo, Rinei. Oh. At nagugulat din ako na sinabi mo na maraming mga batang babae kasi kadalasan 'di ba naiisip natin kapag nagda-drugs mga batang lalaki 'yan. Pero sinasabi mo nga na ang daming mga batang babae rin na sumusubok sa maraming dahilan. Pwedeng kahit bored sila or curious o may pinagdadaanan. Pero tama nga yung sinabi mo na kahit ano pa yang problema na 'yan, hindi solusyon yung pagda-drugs. Kahit nga siguro yung sinasabi mo, kung ma-discover siguro later on na baka nga merong something chemical sa brain, gano'n, meron pa rin namang, kumbaga, nandun pa rin naman yung pag-iisip mo. Alam mo pa rin naman kung ano yung i-risk mo ba na yung buhay mo magkaganito. Dahil napakarami rin naman nating examples na nakikita sa paligid natin kung gano'n. At lalong napakalungkot niyan kasi nga, sabi mo nga, yung mga batang babae talaga, sila yung mas vulnerable o yung kumbaga mas malapit sila sa kapahamakan kaysa sa mga batang lalaki. Iba naman kasi yung kapahamakan sa batang lalaki dahil, ayun, siguro sila yung pabibili ng drugs, kamukha nga nasabi mo, or sila yung pwedeng utusan para gawin ng isang bagay na pwedeng sila yung mahuli ng pulis tapos ilalaglag na lang sila, di ba? Pero yung mga batang babae, di ba, pwedeng yung grabe nga yung trauma, mapagsamantalahan, baka yung iba nga nabubuntis pa, di ba? O nasasaktan, physical, gano'n, yung violence talaga, matindi yung pinagdadaanan nun. Kaya siguro maganda nang isipin talaga na, yun nga, sabi mo wala namang nakakahiya na humingi ng tulong at marami na ring mga hotline at maraming mga ano na pwede mong lapitan kung meron kang kailangan makausap kasi hindi mo kakayanin na nag-iisa ka lang. Ayun. Napakaganda, no? Sige. Maraming salamat sa pagbabahagi ng iyong story, Rinei. Alam ko na maraming mga bata kahit sa community, no, na talaga kung saan palasak talaga, marami rin talaga. Sabi mo nga, tumitira ka ng drugs sa eskinita, di ba? Kung saan nakakarating, no? Sa mga maliliit na lugar na ganyan, marami talagang droga na nandoon, no? Dati nagkaroon din ako ng karanasan na magtrabaho kasama naman yung mga streetwalkers, no? Tapos alam ko rin kung saan sila pumupunta, tama ka doon sa mga eskinita, hindi doon sa mga social na mga lugar, doon talaga pumupunta dahil doon talaga maraming drugs. So yun, maraming salamat sa iyong pagbabahagi. Sweet, may gusto kang idagdag bago tayo
Thank you so
magsara?
Oo, nagpapasalamat lang ako kay Rinei na nagbigay ng time sa oras sa araw na to para i-share yung experiences niya kasi I'm sure maraming makakapanood nito and maraming mai-inspire din talaga sa kwento mo na talagang hanggang ngayon ay lumalaban ka pa din. And thank you kasi yun, nag-share ka ng experiences mo sa amin. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so maraming salamat po sa pakikinig ulit sa isang ulit episode ng Share Ka Lang. Sana po ay na-enjoy nyo. Like, follow, subscribe sa ating Facebook at sa ating YouTube. Sa ngalan po ng Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines, si Sweet na ang ating co-host sa araw na ito at ang Organon Philippines. Maraming po salamat at magkita-kita po tayo sa susunod. Thank you!